An electric car visits the repair shop up to 70% less often than a regular gas-powered car. Even so, a single replacement part for the battery system can cost more than $1,600 to swap out. That contradiction is quietly reshaping who actually makes money fixing electric cars. Over the past 5 years, the fleet of electric and plug-in hybrid cars driving through major cities has multiplied more than tenfold. The biggest metro areas hold most of that fleet, but the growth has also reached mid-sized cities, pushed along by corporate fleets, ride-hailing apps, and a new generation of buyers willing to pay more upfront for a car that promises less maintenance down the road. And that is exactly where the first contradiction of this market shows up. The less an electric car needs a repair shop, the more valuable it becomes to find the right one. Authorized dealerships charge prices that most owners consider excessive, and most traditional repair shops simply turn the work away, afraid of touching a high-voltage system without proper training. That gap opens space for a type of business that barely existed a decade ago: the independent shop specialized in electric vehicles. Few cities today have more than 2 or 3 shops like this, and demand already outpaces the capacity to serve it in most of them. Industry research estimates that the specialized electric vehicle repair market will move hundreds of millions of dollars a year by the end of the decade, a figure that still sounds small next to traditional auto repair, but one growing at a much faster pace. Location matters more in this business than in any ordinary repair shop. In the metro areas where the electric fleet is already large, waitlists of more than 2 weeks for a simple diagnostic have become common. In mid-sized cities, on the other hand, the same business can take months just to build up enough customers, because the local fleet is still too small to sustain a specialized operation on its own. Shops today serve customers from neighboring towns, some more than 60 miles away, simply because there is no closer alternative. Industry groups linked to auto repair estimate that only a few thousand certified high-voltage technicians currently exist across the whole market, a tiny number next to the hundreds of thousands of people employed at ordinary repair shops. That shortage creates a strange effect. While the number of electric cars on the road grows every month, the number of professionals able to service them grows at a much slower pace, widening the gap between supply and demand year after year. Large dealership chains tried to fill that gap by opening their own service centers, but the price they charge tends to run 2 to 3 times higher than an equivalent independent shop, pushing a large share of electric car owners to look outside the authorized network the moment the factory warranty expires. The question that remains is why, with such obvious demand and so little competition, so few shops like this exist. The answer starts to show up once you find out what it actually costs to open the doors of a business like this, a number very different from what any gas engine shop would ever require. Setting up a shop specialized in electric cars looks nothing like opening a traditional repair shop. The first obstacle is not even the money, it is the training. A regular mechanic, no matter how experienced with combustion engines, has to go through high-voltage certification courses before touching a single orange cable, the color that signals shock risk on these vehicles. Those courses cost, on average, between $1,000 and $2,400 per technician, and most of the specialized schools are concentrated in just a few big cities, forcing many owners to also cover travel and lodging for their staff. Then comes the equipment. Certified insulated gloves, dielectric rubber mats, insulated tools, and diagnostic scanners compatible with multiple brands add up to an investment that usually tops $16,000 before the shop even opens its doors. A lift built for electric vehicles, heavier because of the battery pack, costs around $8,000, well above a conventional lift. Add the build-out, with anti-static flooring and an upgraded electrical system, plus rent for a visible commercial location, and the entry cost climbs past $40,000 in mid-sized cities and can exceed $70,000 in major metro areas. Unlike a traditional shop, the initial inventory is lean, few parts, but expensive and imported ones, since each model uses components that are practically exclusive to it. Hiring an already certified technician, when one is even available locally, usually demands a salary 50 to 80% higher than a traditional mechanic's, which is why many owners end up training their own team from scratch, paying for certification as part of the hiring process. It is exactly this combination of scarce labor and expensive equipment that scares off most entrepreneurs before the shop ever sees its first customer. There's also a safety detail that drives up costs. Fire safety codes for lithium batteries require specific containment systems in the area where crashed vehicles are received, an item almost no traditional shop ever has to think about, and one that alone can add tens of thousands of dollars to the project depending on the size of the space. Traditional banks make this path harder too. Since this is a new segment, many small business credit lines still do not recognize it as its own category, pushing most owners toward using their own capital. Whoever manages to gather that capital still runs into a detail few people calculate ahead of time. Every new electric car brand can require its own diagnostic module, turning the setup into an ongoing investment rather than a one-time cost paid at opening. Some owners work around part of that cost by partnering with other shops in the area, sharing access to equipment used less often, a strategy that lowers individual investment but requires a level of trust between competitors that practically does not exist in the world of traditional repair shops. With the setup ready, the money starts coming in a way that any traditional shop would find unfamiliar. The average ticket for a full electronic diagnostic usually lands between $60 and $160, a figure that already beats most routine services at an ordinary shop. Tires and brakes still bring in revenue, but at a slower pace. Regenerative braking, which uses the electric motor itself to slow the car down, cuts brake pad wear by up to 60%, meaning customers come back far less often for that kind of service. That is why most of the real revenue comes from somewhere else: accident repairs. When an electric car gets into a crash, even a minor one, the mandatory inspection of the battery pack alone can cost more than $400. And if there is any sign of damage, replacing the module can run past $8,000, a figure that goes almost entirely toward imported parts, not the shop's own labor. Insurance companies have quietly become the biggest institutional client for this kind of business, signing preferred service contracts that guarantee a steady flow of repair work. Another revenue stream few owners plan for before opening comes from corporate fleets. Ride-hailing and delivery companies that switched to electric cars sign monthly preventive maintenance contracts, paying the shop a fixed fee to keep their cars running without interruption. Those contracts, when well negotiated, can account for up to 40% of a well-established shop's monthly revenue, acting as a financial cushion during slower months of walk-in business. On the other side of the ledger, fixed costs stay heavy even in months, with few cars in the queue. Certified technicians' salaries keep running, rent on the upgraded space keeps running, and periodic updates to diagnostic software can eat up several $1,000s a year just to stay compatible with the newest models. There's also a bottleneck few owners see coming. Brand-specific parts can take weeks to arrive from overseas, leaving the car stuck in the shop and the customer growing impatient. The kind of delay that never shows up on a cost sheet, but quietly erodes a shop's reputation. Supplier management also looks different in this kind of operation. Instead of dozens of local parts distributors, the shop depends on a handful of specialized importers, and any customs delay can choke cash flow for weeks. Seasonality hits differently too. During holiday travel season, when more cars hit the road for long trips, calls about roadside charging failures spike as well, a service that requires sending staff out and drives up operating costs right when walk-in demand is also climbing. But none of these numbers show what actually stays in the owner's pocket at the end of the month. There is one figure that changes everything, and most people walking past that shop would never guess how big it is. If you had never stopped to think about what goes on behind an electric vehicle repair shop, hit like now. That support is what keeps this channel investigating businesses that almost nobody bothers to explain properly. Now, the number that was missing. A mature, specialized shop with fleet contracts in place and a solid reputation with insurance companies typically brings in between $14,000 and $24,000 a month, according to estimates from auto industry consultants. After subtracting salaries, rent, software updates, parts, and taxes, the real net margin lands between 18 and 25%, which works out to an estimated net profit between $2,400 and $6,000 a month. That is a solid number for a local business, but it only shows up after 2 to 3 years of operation, the average time a shop needs to mature its client base and lock in enough institutional contracts, factoring in an initial investment of $50,000. The payback period for that capital usually runs between 36 and 48 months, longer than most entrepreneurs expect going into this market. The biggest risk is not a lack of customers. It is dependence on too few brands. A shop that invested heavily in certification for just 2 or 3 manufacturers can lose relevance overnight if those brands lose local market share. There's also technology risk, since batteries and software evolve fast, demanding constant reinvestment in training and equipment just to stay relevant. There is another risk rarely talked about: quiet competition from the dealerships themselves, which have started cutting their own maintenance prices specifically to hold on to customers who used to drift toward independent shops, squeezing the margin of anyone just getting started. On the other hand, whoever survives the first 2 years tends to report far higher customer loyalty than traditional shops see, because the trust needed to let someone touch a high-voltage system does not transfer easily from one mechanic to another. It is worth it for someone who understands they are building technical authority in a market still barely explored, not for someone chasing a quick return. The shops that thrive are the ones that diversify across walk-in repairs, fleet contracts, and insurance partnerships at the same time. The ones that close down usually bet everything on a single type of client and did not survive the first stretch of slow demand. Industry consultants also point to a clear signal of who tends to last: owners who reinvest part of their profit into new certifications as soon as a new brand gains ground on the streets, instead of waiting for demand to already be mature before knocking on their door. That head start, more than any expensive piece of equipment, is what separates those growing alongside the market from those always a step behind it, chasing a technology that has already moved on again. At the end of the day, that 25% net margin does not come from selling parts or from labor alone. It comes from the combination of technical exclusivity and insurers and fleets' willingness to pay more for predictability, something an ordinary shop simply cannot offer. Most people look at an electric vehicle repair shop and assume it makes less money, since these cars need less maintenance. The truth uncovered here is the opposite. Fewer visits mean each repair costs more, and whoever masters this rare service turns scarcity into margin. The real business is not in routine checkups. It is in the diagnostic work that only a handful of hands can safely perform, and in the quiet contracts with insurers and fleets that guarantee revenue even in the slowest months. That is the kind of detail no electric car commercial will ever show you, because it is not about the car. It is about who is paying attention to what happens after the sale. Next time you walk past a shop specialized in electric vehicles, You might realize that small, unremarkable space could be earning more per customer than any traditional shop on the same street. Would you trust your electric car to a small, independent shop? Or would you rather pay more at the dealership just to sleep easy, knowing the battery was handled by experienced hands?